All join palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. Put the palms down. All right, good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for showing up. Anyone here for the first time? Those of you here for the first time, what brings you here? I don't know. Those of you who are always here, do any of you know why you're here? You kind of never figure it out, so you're fine. What else? What brings you here?
My friend Kevin from a recovery group.
Yep. What did Kevin say?
Not much. I don't really know what to expect.
Perfect. Making it really easy on me so far. What else? First time here. A couple other hands I saw. Now that I'm asking you to speak, you stay silent. Yes, sir.
I come to the Sunday Dharma recovery meeting and I wanted to learn more about basic Buddhist Dharma.
Yes. Basic Buddhist Dharma. It's important stuff. So I've been told. It really helps. Anyone in here suffering? Struggling? Facing challenges? I just want to make sure. Anybody else first time here? Yeah. Hi. How's it working for you so far? Yeah. Nice. What was the last part? Sorry? Not sure why. Man, this is going to be really easy. Nobody knows why they're here. They don't expect anything, you know? Super simple. Yeah, it's I mean, in one way, the practice really is simple. It's very basic, very direct, very straightforward. I think the Buddha was a really smart dude who understood the nature of how the mind works. And he understood that there's one person and one person only that makes you completely miserable. And who do you think that is? Not me. Yourself, right? And there's one person and one person only that makes you completely happy and peaceful and joyful. And who is that? Also not me, yourself. So that's the practice. The practice is to figure out how do we work with our own misery and how do we work with our own joy. And the basic Buddhist teachings address that. And for me, a lot of people over the years, I would always hear reference that all of the Buddhist teachings, he taught for 45 years, that he in essence taught the same thing 80,000 different ways. And it's kind of a metaphor for the reality that we are all different people. We have different personalities, different likes, different dislikes, different views, different perceptions, different experiences. Our entire lives are drastically different. Every person in this room has no idea what anyone else is going through. Half the time we don't even understand what we're going through. But if you look at the very basic core teachings of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths, suffering, the cause of suffering, the ending of suffering, and the path, this is called the Eightfold Path, it's all right there. That's it. And so he just taught the same thing over and over and over again. Vicky, who's been around probably 15 years, she said, you know, I've been listening to Jeff for years and he says the same thing every single time. I just need the reminders. And for me, that's what this practice is. And that's why I enjoy sharing it so much, because it's a reminder for me. So when I share with you all, I'm really just talking to myself and hoping someday I listen and do every single thing I'm talking about, because it's really hard to do. It's as simple as saying, just go out and be nice to everybody, including yourself. I mean, it sounds pretty simple, right? But how hard is that? It's really difficult. How hard is it to have love and compassion for yourself? It's really difficult. How hard is it to have love and compassion for everybody else? It's really difficult. How hard is it to think kind thoughts and speak kind words and do good deeds? Really difficult. But on the surface, it sounds really simple. And so these teachings really help us explore. And that's where the meditation, especially for those who may be new to meditation, meditation is not going to do much for you other than create space for you to sit or stand or walk, however you're doing your meditation. Allow things to settle. Because when things settle, what are you left with? Yourself. And go back to the beginning. Who is the cause of all your misery and all your joy? Yourself. So meditation is an opportunity to set everything down. Allow all the madness of the world for a few moments. It's all still there. All the craziness, all the horror, all the tragedy, all the trauma, all the nightmares in the world are all still there. They don't go away just because you go to some meditation Buddhist thing. And they don't go away just because you do a meditation practice. But it creates space for us to sit and to be still. And then what bubbles up to the surface is all the stuff that's in your head. So have fun with that. For those who are joining virtually, welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you for showing up. Feel free to introduce yourself on the chat box somewhere on your screen there. A couple things to tell you before we begin, especially for those who might be new. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice. I mean, you don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside the room, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. This practice is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos. Your mind will not shut off. It will not go blank. It will not think nothing. It will continue to race just as much as it always does. I'll say things periodically to remind you that you're lost in thought and bring you back to present moment or wake you up because you've fallen asleep. If you need to cough, simply cough. You don't need to sit there for 5 minutes holding it in or walking out and going across the street because we can hear all of that anyways. So it's a lot easier to just cough and then go back to doing whatever you're doing. If you're sick, then just go home. You can come back next time, but just cough. If anything, you just woke somebody up. So posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, often it helps slide into the front third. Pushing the stomach forward allows the back to straighten. Shoulders are relaxed, hands are on the knees or lap, whatever is comfortable for you. If you're on a bench or chair, however you're seated, also just trying to sit up straight. I'll guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. Most important, do not expect anything. We're just going to sit and breathe. And starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, feel them fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. As the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it, release that thought, return attention, focus to the breath. Breathing in, Follow breath in. Breathing out. Follow breath out. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, just sitting, breathing. Letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments from your practice, just sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle. Know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. And no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. Once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And when ready, slowly opening the eyes, slowly beginning to move. And most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how you sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It's everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. What that means, very simply, for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in and where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's what we get. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to every other 20-minute period of your day. And so all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun. It's not an escape, as often people think it is. It is direct perception into the present moment. And the present moment, as we know all too well, is filled with conflict, chaos, difficulties, challenges. So this practice is learning to be with life as it arises. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It is sitting and breathing, becoming aware of what you think, what you say, and what you do in each moment. And that's it. We spend so much time trying to fix, control, change, manipulate those around us, hoping they do this, hoping they do that, wishing they would do this, wishing they would do that. We'll spend much of our lives trying to change everybody around us. And I'm not suggesting that the world around us, nor the people around us, wouldn't be kinder and gentler if they changed. But that's not this practice. It's real easy to point fingers at everybody else who's wrong. But again, that's not this practice. This practice is like holding up a mirror and reflecting back on your thoughts, your words, and your actions, and how you bring that into your life. But it's a practice, and it takes time. This practice is not about staying silent and ignoring or closing your eyes or sitting in places of privilege and thinking the world is fine. It's not. The world's a mess. But as you engage in the world that is a mess, are you a mess? That's this practice. So when we work and we fight in various ways that you choose or not choose to do for a kinder, gentler world, you do it from a place of loving kindness and compassion, not from a place of hatred and anger. But again, that's why we call it a practice. So with that, I'll pause. For me, I always really prefer to respond to questions. Meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. To those who are joining virtually, again, welcome. Thank you for showing up. If you have any questions, feel free to put them on the chat box. I'll do my best to respond. And we'll use the rest of our brief time this morning for questions. Yeah. 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 So the question for those who didn't hear it was, you're new to Buddhist practice, maybe a few months, to paraphrase, and the piece of Buddhist teachings that you're struggling with is attachment, particularly with people. So you're wondering if I had any advice on that. I'm glad that's the only part that you're having trouble with. Yeah, that's the only one today. All right. I thought you were, you'd solved everything else so far. I was like, well, then in the next 6 weeks, you'll be fine. I want to back up a little bit and just kind of, for everybody, kind of set the stage here on this teaching of attachment. What the Buddha is really looking at in the common, phrase list, at least in English, is non-attachment. And you didn't say this, but very often, almost weekly, somebody asks a question about this. And they will often say, again, you didn't say it, but they will say detach or not attached. Non-attachment is not a cutting off. It is not a severing. It is not a not caring. Non-attachment ultimately is absolute love. It is love for people and places and things exactly how they are. It is love. This is where the smiles come in. Yes, it is love for people and places and things exactly how they are, and not trying to change them or fix them or correct them. You ever been in a relationship with someone? Love them to death, right? Ever wish they did so many things differently? That is attachment. That is attached to what attachment really is about is attached to, not to the person. And this is where the confusion comes in for so many people, because when they hear non-attachment, it's almost like, well, I don't care about you. I'm not attached to you. Like, I'm not connected to you. No, non-attachment means you're not expecting them to be who and how you want them to be. You get it? Yeah. Still struggling with it? Yeah, okay. So this truly, for me, this practice of non-attachment is something that throughout our lives we work on, because it makes common sense that whether it's, friends, family, intimate relationships, whatever, you want people to be a certain way. You want them to treat you a certain way. And I also want to say, for those who are new, non-attachment in the way I'm talking about it does not mean that you're in a relationship with somebody and they're abusive and toxic and dangerous, and you're like, well, I'm Buddhist, I practice non-attachment, so you can treat me like shit. No, remove yourself from these situations, right? Always keep yourself safe and healthy. But we cannot, we can be in a relationship, again, family, friend, whatever it might be, and just have a deep admiration, respect, and appreciation for all their mess, because they have it. Do we have our own mess? Absolutely. Yet somehow we encounter people and we're like, oh, well, they're supposed to have, they're supposed to be good. So non-attachment is love. It is love without expectation. Another way to look at it also, just kind of, in addition to that, is it also really does help us deal with impermanence, and understanding that the very basic Buddhist teachings on impermanence says that all conditioned phenomena comes together for a period of time and ceases to exist. It is one of the most beautiful and simple Buddhist teachings, and one of the hardest for us to implement into our lives. What that means is every person, every place, and everything in your life right now in this moment will be gone at some point in time. Every person, every place, everything in your life at some point in time will be gone. Now, some, the first time they hear this, could think, well, that's really miserable and depressing. But it's reality. It is the truth. The truth is every person, place, and thing in your life at some point in time will be gone. Maybe it's an hour from now. Maybe it's 80 years from now. We don't know. So what this teaching of impermanence for me has really helped with is an absolute deep understanding and appreciation and gratitude for every person and place and thing that's in your life right now. Because we don't know when it will be gone. And so when we think about people or places or things that we take for granted, that we kind of take advantage of or we use in certain ways, and then all of a sudden it's gone, or they're gone, or whatever it is gone, we're like, oh no, I shouldn't have treated you so poorly, And the last thing I'll say on this is that also applies to ourselves. We are changing every moment. Our life will be done as we know it at some point in time. Again, not sad, not miserable, not depressing, reality. And if we can shift our view to understand that since we know we are impermanent also, why waste any moment of your life miserable, depressed, pissed off? And that does not mean you kick back, put your feet up and think everything is fine. It's not. The world is a mess. The world's on fire. 100%. But it always has been, and it's going to be for probably quite some time. So as we're working through this world, right? People often say, well, things are so hard these days. I've been listening to people say these days for 20 years. They're always hard. Once it's this thing, then when that's gone, it's going to be the next thing. We always have something to say, well, these days it's so much harder. The thing that people are saying that about has changed a million times. So non-attachment, love, impermanence, gratitude, appreciation. Does that help? Yeah. Now, when you figure out how to do that every day, let me know. Yeah. It just takes, like everything, it is a practice. It is a practice of looking at what are the people and places and things in your life right now that you don't appreciate? What are the people and places and things in your life that you don't have gratitude for? What are the people and places and things in your life right now that you could treat better and kinder and gentler? It really is. It is a practice. What are people and places and things in your life that you're like holding grudges over them or stories over them or expectations over them? And in your life that you've wanted them to be a certain way for the last 10 or 50 years? They ain't going to be that way, folks. That's how you want them to be. And the reality is there are people out there. I know this will shock all of you here because you're here on it. You already know what I'm going to say, huh, Patty? What am I going to say? Thank you very much. Not about me, about you. Right. There are people out there in some other class and some other therapy session and some other spiritual center and some other yoga thing. And you know why they're there? Because of you. So, yes, they also want us to be a certain way. And if we can't be that way, then why are we sitting here expecting others to be that way? So, what else? There's a couple questions, comments here. Give me a second. I've been reflecting on how we hold suffering in practice. Sometimes in modern language, people talk about spiritual bypassing in quotes, when spiritual ideas can be used to avoid difficult emotions. I'm curious how Buddhist practice helps us stay open to our human experience while also cultivating equanimity. Yeah, really important is this idea of spiritual bypassing, right? I had a friend years ago, and he had been into Buddhism for a very long time and was in a relationship with somebody. And he would always say to the other person, like, well, I don't argue, I'm Buddhist, you know? And that just pissed them off even more, you know? So I think we have to be very careful. I'll just start with this, in this kind of spiritual bypassing and being like, oh, I'm so spiritual. I go to the Dharma Bum Temple. I go to yoga, you know, I got my new whatever, like, it's just stuff, right? We have to be there's a great book by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche titled Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism, where he addresses a lot of this. But this idea, especially in, 2026, California, like, what's the latest, greatest thing we can get into so we can post it and share about it and talk about it and say, look at me. We can post on our app how many hours we did our meditation, which, by the way, if you're doing that, keep doing it because it inspires you. So I don't want to stop you from that or suggest you should stop. But there's so many things out there to draw us into the trap of kind of spiritual materialism or spiritual bypassing. And this practice is hard. It's really hard. I mean, the very foundation of Buddhist teachings is Four Noble Truths, as I said, life is filled with suffering. The word is dukkha. Translates often in English to suffering, which I think is a very heavy, poor translation of the word dukkha, because suffering sounds extreme. It sounds like heavy trauma, which it is. But it is also hating mayonnaise, ordering a sandwich with no mayonnaise, and getting a sandwich with mayonnaise on it. That is also dukkha. It is not liking the way your shirt looks today. It's not liking the way you did your hair today. It's not liking the way the piece of machinery on 4 wheels or 2 wheels got in front of you on the freeway. That makes no difference in your life, but it just pissed you off for the next 60 minutes, right? We experience little amounts of dukkha that is in essence meaningless. And in my personal opinion, I think 90% of the dukkha, the suffering, discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction that we experience on a day-to-day basis is not the heavy stuff. There is heavy stuff. There is definite trauma and things we've dealt with that are miserable and heavy and not fun. But those are often not the things that are ruining your day. It's the little amounts of dukkha. So kind of coming back to the question around how can we be open to the human experience while cultivating equanimity and really sitting with the suffering. For me, this teaching is a mirror. The Buddhist practice is a mirror. And it says, okay, if I am suffering, I'm not just going to pull out this like Buddhist card and be like, well, I'm Buddhist, so it's cool. And then treat people poorly. The question is, why am I suffering? And the second noble truth will tell you. Greed, anger, and ignorance, or craving, desire, constantly wanting more, not having enough. And greed is not about money. I mean, it can be, but it's stuff, it's food, it's clothes, it's friends, it's whatever it might be. Everybody in this room, my guess, has enough clothes to last you the rest of your life. I mean, we might go up or down a size or two here or there, right? But we have enough clothes to last us the rest of our life. You gonna stop shopping? Of course not, right? It's a new season. The fall is coming. We got to change colors of the stuff we're wearing. It's got to match our belt and our shoes and our ties. Like, we have enough, but we constantly consume, right? Desiring things, different places, different people, different jobs, different everything. constantly craving things to be different. And so part of this sitting with suffering is looking at, why do I need and want things to be different? And the practice of equanimity, to your question, is learning to be with life as it is, realizing I have enough. And this comes from the heart of Buddhist teachings. He had 7 items. Now, I got 7 items like sitting with me here, literally. But he had a robe and a bowl and a razor to shave his head and a blade to sharpen it and a sifter for water. 7 items. The second one is the anger. Constantly angry, disturbed at how things are. And very often, where do people hold the most anger? Towards whom? Themselves. So that we overcome anger with compassion. Practice compassion. Sit with, if you're angry, sit with the anger, look at it, explore it, and then go help people. And the third one is the ignorance. We suffer because of greed, anger, and ignorance. We overcome greed with the practice of generosity. We overcome anger with the practice of compassion. We overcome ignorance with the practice of wisdom. Now, often people ask, well, how do I practice great wisdom? My response I always defer to the Buddhist teachings, to Subhuti, one of his disciples, and he asked Subhuti to give a discourse on wisdom. And Subhuti sat down and said absolutely nothing. And the Buddha kind of patted him on the back and said, good job, right? So wisdom is not something we speak. Wisdom, ultimate wisdom, Tathagata, one of the names of the Buddha, is suchness, things as they are. So there's reality, and then there's our perception of reality. And everyone in this room has a different perception of reality. Yet we roam around all day long thinking we're right. We're what? I gave it away. We roam around all day long thinking we're right. So wisdom is, Thich Nhat Hanh would say, nirvana, freedom from suffering, is freedom from views. And he would go on to say that all views are wrong. Now, how do you feel when you hear that? To think that your views are wrong. I mean, the first time I heard Thich Nhat Hanh's teaching on that, I was like, that's wrong, right? And then I began to think, well, how can I explore all views are wrong? What does that mean in my life? And what that means is I have my views, and my views are not right or wrong. They're just mine. And as I interact in the world, every single person has their own views. So to me, all views are wrong just means that everybody has views. And that's the reality. Another way to look at wisdom, for me in a very practical sense, do you typically know when you do something that's really just dumb, harmful to yourself, harmful to others, not kind, not filled with loving kindness or compassion? Usually, really, none of you know when you do that? Such an enlightened group we are, right? Do those things less. If you do less of those things, by default, you are practicing a greater level of wisdom. So it's not about, to me as a practitioner, what is this ultimate level of wisdom that I can attain? It is recognizing, where's my ignorance? And if I can see that, and hopefully do it less. But again, back to the question of equanimity is really to kind of stay balanced and steady. And to sit with the suffering and recognize how our suffering ultimately impacts everybody around us. And if we kind of skip that part and we just jump to, engage in the world without really addressing our suffering, then we're really potentially making life really tough for those around us. So, what else? Yeah.
Question about meditation.
Mm.
In the past, you've talked about doing meditation like facing a wall instead of normally. What would be the advantage or benefit of doing it this way? And then how close do you sit to the wall? And are you looking straight ahead or are you looking down?
Yeah, so the question really is around different types of meditation practice, and I've referenced the Zen practice of facing the wall. First and foremost, and I'll go into some specifics in a minute, but there's only one way that you're going to know.
I did it the last 2 mornings. I wasn't sure, like, should I sit closer? Should I look?
Yeah.
Let me ask.
Well, what was the experience like sitting and facing a wall?
My thoughts, I was still, my thoughts all over the place, and I was okay with it. Didn't really, was I supposed to look at the wall or just?
Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. So, different types in general, and I'll say this, within Buddhist practice, there's, even within Buddhism, there's endless types of meditation practice, but specifically within Zen practice, well, before I get to that, for most people in this room, in my opinion, who aren't like hardcore, you got some Buddhist teacher and you're working on whatever, most people are just like average kind of meditators, meaning you're going to do it when you can. You're not doing it 3 hours a day. You know, you're lucky if you do it 5 minutes a day, whatever it might be. There are thousands of types of meditations out there. My suggestion always for those who are trying to build a daily practice, especially for those who might be very new to it, find a practice that works for you and stick with it. 5 minutes a day. That's it. If you set, you know, if I walk in and I said, hey, I want you to do this 20 minutes a day, twice a day, every single day, what's the likelihood of that happening? 0. If I say do it 5 minutes a day, it goes up to like 0.1%, you know, and I like those odds. So it's more about, before I get to specifics in general, it's more about just cultivating a daily practice of meditation. You don't need 20 minutes. You don't need 40 minutes. You don't need incense. You don't need bells. You don't need whistles. You don't need an app. I hate to break it to you, right? You don't need anything. You just need the breath and a crazy mind. If you don't have the breath, don't got to worry about meditation anymore, all right? Specifically with Zen practice, it is, in essence, what's called guarding the senses. And the idea is that there's kind of taught by Dogen. Dogen was the founder of the Soto Zen school of 1200 to 1253. And he's got kind of 7 points that he highlights with the Zen practice. You know, there's a little string gently pulling your head up. There's certain space underneath the arms, distance, your thumbs are gently touching together. And if you push too hard, like you're holding paper, it would crumble. If you open, it would fall. They're in the lap, etc. So it's got placement of the tongue, all these little things. And the idea is that with the eyes specifically, so everybody try this for a minute. Everybody close your eyes if comfortable. Now, slightly open them to where you're looking down off the edge of your nose, not at your nose, you'll get dizzy, but off the edge of the nose about 2 feet in front of you. So if you're in a chair, you're going to see probably the bottom of the base of the chair in front of you. If you're in a pew, etc., same thing, base of the pew. If you're on the floor, you're going to be looking down at the ground. And so your eyes are open. Now, if somebody looked at you, if I looked at you, your eyes would look closed, but they're open. You have a single pointed focus, right? You can all open your eyes now, or completely. When we do meditation, what do typically people tend to do with their meditation? They close their eyes. They're like, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to go to my happy place. Often, and it's just so annoying, people say like, I'm going to go to my Zen place. Let me correct you all. Zen does not mean peaceful. I hate to shatter your view of the word Zen. Zen doesn't mean peaceful. Zen doesn't mean happy. Zen doesn't mean good. Zen doesn't mean bad. The word Zen literally means meditation. It comes from the word jhana, which is knowledge of present moment, present time experience. We in the West have Zen cereal. We got Zen shoes now. We got Zen everything because it's marketed as this like, I'm going to go to my Zen place. You could be having the most miserable freaking day. That is Zen. Zen is present moment, regardless of what's happening. Now, when we live our lives, right? How do we tend to live our lives? Eyes open or eyes closed? Open. But then people want to meditate and they close their eyes and they're like, I'm going to shut everything out. I'm going to go to my blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to sit here and do my thing. And then 3 minutes later, the head goes everywhere and they're just thinking and thinking and thinking. And then they're just waiting for the dude or dudette to hit the bell so they can be done because they got to move and they're not sure if they should move or not. Somebody's going to judge them. There's all this stuff going on in our head. We don't meditate to be good at meditation. We meditate when we go into the world and life is coming at us 1,000 miles an hour. We can just observe what's happening and interact with it without this emotional attachment to expecting everything to be a certain way. So the eyes open practice of meditation is preparing you for life. But most people don't use meditation that way. They use meditation to escape, to deal with stress and anxiety. What if stress and anxiety wasn't so severe? Do you wait till your teeth fall out to start brushing them? No. Every single day. Maintenance. 2 minutes a day, 60 seconds a day. Do you brush your teeth like 3 minutes one day and then 8 minutes the next day, depending on how much time you have? No. Do you have different toothbrushes and toothpaste you try every single day? Do you use an app to brush your freaking teeth? No. Just 60 seconds, you brush your teeth, you're done. Meditation should be that way, preparing us for life. So life doesn't get so miserable. And then again, the techniques are, just straight off the edge of your nose. Did that help you kind of? And as far as facing the wall, certain Zen schools will have you face the wall, kind of guarding the senses that we're, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind comes from the Heart Sutra, all our senses that are pulling us everywhere. So the idea is just to focus on present time awareness. Here I am. There's a wall. There's sounds. Often people say, like, I didn't hear the plane during meditation. I was in a deep meditative state. You were sleeping. If you didn't hear a plane during meditation, you're not doing meditation. You're asleep. And nothing wrong with sleep, but let's just be honest about what we're doing. Does that help?
So
And sit as close to the wall, like a foot. Yeah, it's fine.
And eyes downward like you would normally, like a normal.
Just off the edge of your nose, straight down.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I looked at you right now and you were doing it,
Yeah.
so when I lead meditation, my eyes are open, right? I'm not staring at people. That'd be weird, but I don't sit here with my eyes closed. I'd probably fall asleep. I'm as tired as anybody. If I closed my eyes for 20 minutes, I'd probably go to sleep. So I meditate with eyes open. Yeah. What else? Yeah.
Yesterday I was in a meeting with my coworkers. I mentioned that I was gonna come here.
That's a bad idea.
I know, right? And then they got curious. They said, "Oh, what do you do there?" And then I was like, "Oh, we meditate and talk."
Yeah.
And then one of my coworkers said, "Oh, yeah, that's so cool. You have to close one side of your nose, and then the other side."
Yeah.
Left, And then I said, just do the rice and beans. That's what they say in Brazil. Just do the basics.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I remember when I first started, I didn't know what to do. What I first did, I tattooed my body,
Mm-hmm.
And then I started reading, didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's been like 5 years. I still don't know what to do.
Perfect. Phenomenal. So for you brand new people, 5 years, he still doesn't know what he's doing. So you're good. Yeah, it's really one of my, I don't know if you heard me say this, but one of my favorite stories is there was years ago, I saw this documentary and it was like somebody shooting at a Zen retreat somewhere, filming at a Zen retreat somewhere. And they were interviewing this young guy and they said, what time do you get up, to start your day? And he said 3:30 in the morning. And they said, why do you get up at 3:30 in the morning? And he was like, I have no idea. And so again, Zen practice, back to even the same thing with what I was just saying about the meditation. It's just experiencing life as it is. Most of us do not experience life as it is because we're too busy trying to manipulate and fix life. And we're not actually living it. Chop wood, carry water, all these kind of Zen expressions. But with work stuff, and again, to your example of there's so many things out there. And to be fair, for millions of people who do all those things, if it works for them and it makes them calmer and kinder and gentler, then phenomenal, So I'm not one necessarily to put down types of meditation practice. There are a few out there that are really, I think, dangerous and unhealthy. But for the most part, there's different types. Thanks. What else? Or you could have just said, yeah, we do all that. And then, yeah.
You just accept life as without really get what's the innovation, right? Like how do you make big changes?
Yeah.
How do you make sure, fossil fuels are replaced or whatever that is.
Yeah. Do not stop fighting. Accepting life as it is does not mean when life sucks, we don't try to make it better. Accepting life as it is means if life sucks, then it sucks. If people are harming each other, then they're harming each other. If there are children who are starving to death, then there are children who are starving to death. The Buddha, without going into his whole life story, he was just a guy who lived 500 years before Christ, so 2,500 years ago. He died at 80. They called him the Buddha. That just means the awakened one. It's just a name. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, for anybody who doesn't know. And they called him the Buddha, the awakened one, right? And so at 35, he gave the Four Noble Truths as a teaching. He taught for 45 years before he died. Now, I see personally the Buddha, he was an activist. He was a rebel. He spent 45 years of his life walking around India, passionately teaching people to be loving and kind to everyone, all animals, all sentient beings, everybody. He didn't say, accept life as it is and let's just go harm people. No, he said, do no harm. And here is why. But accepting life as it is means to me in practice that people are going to do what they're going to do. And I'm going to accept that that's what they're going to do. And if I don't like it, then I'm going to bring my views into it as well. But I'm not going to attach and expect people to have my views, right? You ever been in an argument with someone, right? And they have their views and you have your views. Who's right? I mean, you, of course, I know, but since they're probably not here, but we have our views. And so it's very important, and I didn't stress it as much earlier, but I've been very adamant, you know, especially these days, making sure people, especially those who are new, understand that Buddhism is not this passive thing where we just kick back under a tree and think everything is fine. The world is on fire. I think I said that twice already. And so it is definitely not, by saying accepting it as it is, it doesn't mean that I'm going to sit here in my place of privilege and say everything's fine. No one's coming after me. I'm good. Y'all, good luck. No, I'm going to work my ass off to try to make the world a kinder, gentler place, which is what the Buddha wanted everybody to do. Does that make sense? Yeah. Do not, it's very dangerous to ignore how things are. I mean, even in the two major schools of Buddhism, Theravada or Hinayana, the one school of Buddhism, Theravada literally translates to of the elders. Their practice was to practice so they could awaken, because if they awakened, right? I mean, if you were a fully enlightened being, you would know how to help so many people, right? So they would practice to be able to help so many people. The other major school of Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, is the Bodhisattva practice, which is literally a vow to be reborn life after life to help all beings. So both major schools of Buddhism, their entire purpose is to help people. And that doesn't mean you just kick back and say everything's fine. So I think you get the point, but I just wanted to drive it home for everybody. Yeah. What else? We'll do one more before we close. Does that help answer? Yeah. One more question before we close. Oh yeah, okay.
My anxiety level right now is 105 out of 100. I can only meditate so much every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, like, stuff ahead of me, I'm scared to death of. And
Yeah.
I try not to be, I really am trying not to be. But, like, what other, like, activities would the Buddha talk about, or you talk about, to deal with stress and anxiety?
Yeah. So I'll close with this thought. I want to be very clear. I get it. In my opinion, most people come to meditation or Buddhist practice to deal with stress, anxiety, anger, sadness, depression. Half the people end up here, their therapist said, go to the Dharma Bum Temple, right? The other half are therapists, and they're here because they need to deal with their stress and anxiety. But I want to emphasize again something I said earlier. You have a major procedure, a major operation coming up. Your stress level is so high, and you said you can only meditate so much. Now, what I'm going to say might sound a little shocking at first, but your meditation isn't necessarily going to help your anxiety. Your meditation isn't necessarily going to help your anxiety. The way you asked that question said to me that you're hoping and thinking that meditation will help. It's not. And so you're looking for something else, right? The something else is the piece that people often overlook, which is every single thing the Buddha said, right? The Eightfold Path, correct views, thoughts, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. That is the fourth step on the Four Noble Truths, called the Eightfold Path. The third one is nirvana, ending of suffering. In that list, views, thoughts, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. Where is meditation? Mindfulness and concentration, where is it? Let me do it again. Views, thoughts, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. Where is mindfulness and concentration on that list? It's at the end. Meditation, mindfulness, concentration, whatever you want to call it. It's at the end. But people come into Buddhism thinking, well, I'm just going to meditate and everything's going to be fine. Start in your situation. My suggestion is look at the right view. First step of the Eightfold Path. And to me, the Eightfold Path, people teach it different ways, but for me, my understanding is that they do go in order. Because if I don't have the correct view, you know, if I'm on the 15 freeway going north and I want to go to Mexico, never going to get there, right? Your view is that ultimately, well, let me suggest this view for you as an option, right? You have zero control over what's going to happen. All the meditation in the world isn't going to change your view on thinking that you can control or do something to make the thing better or worse, right? Do you have any control over what's going to happen with your procedure? No. Do you want to have control over what's going to happen with your procedure? Yes. Just let the record show the head nod. Yes. So you want to have control. So your view is you want control. You want to control something you have zero control over. This is the cause of your stress and anxiety. Your meditation is not going to fix that. Your view is, I want to control what's going to happen. On top of that, it's the attachment to wanting to make sure things go well. Does you wanting things to go well or not wanting things to go well change whether or not they will go well? No. Right? For those who don't know, he's just headed into a little brain surgery. So this is what we're talking about. I know you don't mind me sharing that because you've asked it, you know, you've said it multiple times, right? So your desire to control that, your desire to want it to go well is the cause of your suffering. Thinking that meditation is just going to fix the stress and anxiety is not going to work. Instead of spending 3 hours meditating, think that that's going to get rid of your anxiety, it's just going to make you angry because it's not getting rid of your anxiety. Try working on the idea of absolute surrender, complete liberation, complete not attaching to the outcome. If things go well, you're good. If things don't go well, you're good. Either way. That view allows one to set things down. But it really does require that one thing that so many people in this room, myself included, all want, which is control. Surrender control. You prepare all you can. And in your case, not much more you can do but wait, right? So I didn't answer your question. I didn't solve your problem. But I'm giving you a different, my master always said, when you ask questions, don't look for answers. Change your question. So the question is, how do you solve your stress and anxiety? The question should be, what am I so afraid of and why am I trying to have so much control? Explore that. It's out of your hands, man. You know? Yeah. So, but we're here for you either way and love you either way. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to close on that light note. We'll join palms. Many merit gained from this practice be transferred to all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. All right, before y'all head out, our Dharma Bum host has a few announcements for us. Thanks, dude.
Hey everyone, I am today's host, Kevin. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 19 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, or teachers, and they are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction. And our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. We have silent meditation Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it to bring it back whenever you're done. Please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. If a few people could stay to close and latch the windows, that would be helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well and hope to see you all again.
Thanks, Jim.